Well, hey, hello everyone, and welcome to the BlueGamer Bluecast morning show, the daily video game morning talk show where I, professional video game enthusiast of 30 plus years, Adam Blue, will cover news and industry insights along with what I've been getting into. I like that I have something I can just read right there, although I did spell something wrong. Luckily, there's a squiggly line to tell me that. Hey, well, yeah, good morning and shout out to Atronimus. Yeah, that was Angel Island Zone 2 music. All that Sonic music is just amazing, right? Well, this will be a very interesting episode today because the Hellblade 2 reviews have come out. This is something that I've been anticipating, not in terms of playing it, but in terms of Xbox needing that win, because I feel like Xbox just really hasn't had anything that amazing for a long time. But I like what they do for the industry in terms of ushering in online play, backwards compatibility, cross-platform, cross-save. They've kind of ushered in a lot of this accessibility stuff, which I think is amazing. And then I'll talk a little bit about what I got into yesterday as far as gaming. Actually, I don't think I did any gaming yesterday. Let me think. I don't think I did. Yeah. So I didn't do any gaming yesterday, but I did pick up this Chun-Li Jada Toys action figure from Street Fighter because it started where I got this guy because he looks like an SH Figure Arts figure, but for like $20. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll grab it. And yeah, the engineering on these Jada Toys are amazing. So I decided to get Chun-Li, the next one, and I've got Ryu on the way, Ryu. There's a lot going on in terms, this is a video game channel, but there's a lot going on in terms of action figures that this does incredibly well. I could see myself doing a video review of the Street Fighter figures because it's video game related. I did a review of the Master Chief from, what's it called, 1,000 Toys or whatever? I think that was brand. That video did way better than most of my video game content, so that's kind of interesting how that goes. But anyway, oh yeah, shout out to Midnight Hatter in the chat. That is right, I am repping his work here, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so let's get into this. Hellblade 2. Yeah, so this is out on Game Pass right now. This is supposed to be their big, Xbox's big title, Microsoft's big title. I compare it to, you know, The Last of Us and God of War because the idea is here they put a lot of focus on the graphics and that like tight third-person perspective to give it sort of that prestige feeling because it does limit the gameplay. And as much as people like the newer God of Wars, they're not like the old God of Wars. There's less free-form gameplay. There's more narrative where you're kind of driven through the locations. You know, in the first Hellblade is that same kind of thing. I never beat the first Hellblade, but it looked incredible. Ninja Theory, that developer, has done great work before. My favorite being, oh, what was that game on PS3? Was there a sword? Heavenly Sword. Heavenly Sword. And Andy Serkis was in it as the bad guy. Motion capture was amazing. The gameplay was amazing. I even never beat that. That's actually something I would like to go back and finish because it had good combat. But that was different for Ninja Theory because those games were a little more about the gameplay. And from what I see from this new one, it's a little different. So what I want to do is, let's pull up the reviews here. This is on Pure Xbox, put together at 4 a.m. by Ben Carey. So good on you, Ben Carey, for taking the time to do that. So from Pure Xbox themselves, they're giving it a 7 out of 10, which is fine. When I see something 7 out of 10, that tells me it's a competent game. It just depends if it's your type of game. Let's see. Senua Saga Hellblade 2 is the best looking video game we've ever played. It sounds incredible. Melina Juergens acts herself inside out, and on a purely technical level, this is just next level stuff all around. However, we still don't feel as though extending Senua's plight into a saga is a good idea. We remain unconvinced, and it's because the sequel feels like diminishing returns as we had worried it might. It's not as vital or as unique in 2024, and it goes for bombast as a means of smoothing things over, resulting in a good game. An interesting 8-hour romp, but nothing that screams must play. Weak combat and dull puzzles are just more salt on the wounds, unfortunately. So, I mean, I feel like that is a 7 out of 10 makes sense for what they're saying here. And especially the way they're explaining things sounds like the point of this Hellblade 2. Again, kind of piggybacking off of Sony PlayStation's idea of these prestige titles that are more mainstream. They're almost like a movie in terms of the marketing, kind of the mass market appeal. Because there's a few things they said here that tells me this. It's not as vital or unique or it's not as vital or as unique in 2024. And for mainstream gamers who's actually looking for something vital and unique, they're really not. They're just looking for a game to play that's competent, because it goes for bombast as a means of smoothing things over, resulting in a good game. An interesting 8-hour romp, so it's short. Again, I think that is a very mainstream appealing thing. Weak combat. The combat's good, but it's weak. Again, mainstream. And dull puzzles, meaning easy puzzles, so it's not too hard to get past. Again, I feel like this was being made to be a mass market easy game. 7 out of 10 sounds good. Eurogamer, 5 out of 5. In short, Hellblade 2 is as confident a sequel as I've ever seen. Is any okay? I'm having trouble with the sentence. In short, Hellblade 2 is as confident a sequel as any. There's too many words. He could have shortened that, but that's not the point in here. Okay, Ninja Theory has shown tremendous ambition with this game, and the result is equally tremendous. A lot has changed since the release of Senua's Sacrifice in 2017, not least in terms of our comfort and familiarity with mental health and mental illness as subject matter. But if there was any doubt as to whether Hellblade could move with the times, it can be safely put to rest now. Ninja Theory has not only proven it can read a changing landscape, but that Hellblade and Senua absolutely still deserve a place of prominence within that space. So it's interesting with Eurogamer, the kind of summary doesn't really say anything negative about it, which doesn't have to, especially when you see a 5 out of 5, and Games Radar 5 out of 5. Like, there's this thing where sometimes a game is just awesome for what it is, even if it doesn't do everything awesome, and that's still okay. And again, like Windows Central, 9 out of 10, but Windows Central, could they be biased? I don't know. I wouldn't think Eurogamer or Games Radar would be, and they're 5 out of 5. Game Informer, 9 out of 10. Let's see. And despite my initial reservations about continuing, so this person even came in with those expectations. I walked away happy to see her conquer new monsters, both literal and metaphorical. I'm pleased Ninja Theory avoided the temptation to blow up this formula into something far bigger than needed. This isn't Xbox's God of War. It's a better Hellblade. That's a neat perspective to look at it at, is where, yeah, once you get these games, they're like, okay, this is going to be our main sort of thing. Let's like pump all this crap into it. It seems like they took a focused approach. IGN, even 8 out of 10. That's really good. A journey as brutal as it is beautiful, delivered with hardware-pushing visuals and persistently absorbing audio. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is another Viking-worthy feast for the senses that meets the high bar set by its predecessor, even if it never really manages to clear it. That's pretty good. Forbes, 7 out of 10. That seems good. VGC, 3 out of 5. Ultimately, Hellblade 2 has to be considered a stumble as Xbox gets its first-party story back on track. The game will likely receive some acclaim during the coming award season, but this will almost certainly be on a technical basis, not related to how the game actually plays. That's interesting, because I feel like what previous reviewers are kind of pointing out here is that the game plays to a specific audience. And I could be honest to say, I don't think it's me. So it is interesting, and I think that's why it's good to read multiple reviews, because you can kind of get an idea by how they're complaining what their mindset is. Especially that earlier one was it Game Informer saying that they had initial reservations. So GameSpot, 6 out of 10. Metro, 5 out of 10. So it's almost all over the place, but skewing good, which is great. And then this is a review thread on Reddit, again, where we're seeing 95s. But a lot of these on Reddit, they have like a whole list of outlets that, I mean, who are half of them? Let's see, 8.5 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9.3 out of 10, 89. And then you get a 5 out of 10. Let's see if there's some other lower ones around here. No, a lot of 9s and 10s. But there was some that I've never even heard of these places, or some places like Shack News, which over time sort of become a more mainstream appealing outlet in terms of how they're covering things and speaking on things. So what is my takeaway with that? Well, I think I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try the game. I plan to anyway. I have Game Pass, but it's more of I'm really interested in seeing what they're doing and if it can hook me. The first one was good, but didn't hook me. And I think a lot of it had to do with as I'm traversing the environment and then getting into the basic combat, which are more like puzzles. Once I would, fail something and have to do it again, there's that feeling in me like, well, I don't really care about it that much. I'm not going to continue. So I wonder how that's going to happen. And that was what was interesting about Bloodborne. Bloodborne was the game that got me into Souls-likes. And it was when I died, I was like, okay, I need to try this again and figure it out. And I think that's what's going to tell me if I'm going to get into it or not. But man, especially if they're saying it's just 8 hours or it's short, I like that idea. Where it's like, okay, I'm going to spend some time with this, get it completed. It'll be interesting to see. Okay, so let's move on again to some stuff that I picked up on the way. So, yeah, let me screen share again. So, Gundam, again, big Gundam fan. For those that know, I have that Gundam Explained YouTube channel. Call of Duty is getting Gundam skins. Now, this is pretty amazing to me for a lot of reasons that other people wouldn't be able to relate, but I was at Bandai's offices back in November of last year, and they were wanting us to pitch stuff. And I spoke directly to the people in charge of this stuff, and I explained to them what they should be doing for Gundam and Call of Duty. And I'm literally seeing it. I'm not saying that it was my idea. It could have been they already had that idea. But just seeing what I was explaining is blowing my mind because, the idea is a skin that is the Gundam. And then, the melee weapon could be the beam saber. Because they could have gone other routes with this, like with the King Kong and Godzilla, just having them background stuff. Or sometimes they have skins, but they don't have the tracer packs, right? Like the special weapons with them. So this is cool because you get the RX-78-2, you get a Zaku 2, which is the red mobile suit, and then you get the aerial Gundam from the new Witch from Mercury series. And I think that's a cool mix, I think, even though they're just from two different series. That Gundam RX-78-2 and the red Zaku 2 is kind of iconic in terms of Gundam or getting people into Gundam. And then the aerial, I think, is just more of, and I'm just guessing here, but I would assume more people might be like, oh, I know what that is, just because that was recent and like super popular and got Gundam more popular. I don't know. Anyway, I haven't played Modern Warfare 3 in a long time. With Call of Duty games, usually when they come out, I play them a whole lot. And then I stop. And then I might come back and play it and then stop. This is a perfect time for me to get back into it. Because again, Call of Duty is not like my type of like gamer's game. To me, Call of Duty is just a fun pastime that encompasses, the core of like 3D controls, because the original Call of Duty came out, early 2000s, was it 2002, 2003? And at that time, they were using id Tech. And even to this day, the Call of Duty engines are just based on id Tech. So we're seeing, like, it's cool when you look at, for me at least, the Call of Duty games technically are like this evolution from what id made. Wolfenstein, Doom, and all that, and went from there. So this comes out with Season 4, that's May 29th. Wow, they really talked a whole lot about this. What I find surprising about all of this is that I didn't expect Bandai Namco to ignore what makes this brand work yet again so soon. Okay, so I mean, I will be honest and say, and I don't know if I want to make this a separate video on my Gundam channel. Like, as cool as it is for me to see these skins in Call of Duty, as a Gundam fan, where it's like I want it to be bigger around here, there are so many more things that they actually could be doing, like Fortnite, like Roblox. I mean, the basis, the core of Gundam is in its creation because of the Gunpla. That's actually what made it popular. And I feel like that's the best place for it, especially if you want to kind of get a younger crowd to get in on, the creation aspect. Whereas with Call of Duty, how young is that going to be? And also it's based just on violence, on shooting. Not that that's a bad thing, but like again, this is a good idea, again, because I came up with it. Hey, and not that they took my idea, but if we're on the same wavelengths, and obviously I know what I'm doing, video game developers, hopefully you're listening, but the smarter play for Bandai is in a creation engine like Fortnite or Roblox. Yeah, let's see what they do eventually. I mean, I'm curious to see where Gundam's going to go. We're getting Requiem for Vengeance. We're getting live action movie. This is interesting. Is there more to this than just the Call of Duty? Let's see. Oh, let's Midnight Hatter. They did the Gundam shield in a cool way. Yeah, I think it's great, especially making it as part of a shield in game. That was a good attention to detail. It feels like baby steps, but baby steps are still steps. I agree, and but you would think they've been around for so long, they should be past these baby steps. But I will admit, talking with the people that make these decisions, they're not as in. I think maybe they're in the company for the maybe past experience of maybe working with a digital marketing company, but in terms of the specific properties that are based in Japan, and then how do you make that and integrate it in the West and appeal to different audiences when there's different shows? Like, I don't think they're really thinking that, if you know what I mean. These are just digital marketers or marketing people. I used to work in marketing where it's like, okay, here is the client, here is the thing, let's market it. Versus the legacy, versus having, people with that understanding, not just of Gundam, but of like popularity and IP and all that. Wrong channel for that, guys. Go to Gundam Explained. This other thing real quick I found, which may have existed for a while and I didn't know, is this Sonic Fallen Star game, which looks awesome. I'm gonna have to check it out. And I found this because I found a video about someone that has developed a Sonic 06 remake, like on their own. And it was because they never had a console when Sonic 06 came, or they only had a PC when Sonic 06 came out. So instead of getting a console, they just made it themselves. And I don't know if they're still working on it, but anyway. So then I stumbled upon this because I guess, wow, this looks cool. Because what I was reading about is how Sega approaches fan-made games. Sega is all about the fan-made games. They don't step in and say, hey, you need to shut this down, shut that down. When it comes to Sonic, at least, I don't know about other properties, but it's so smart of Sega to embrace Sonic in that way, because I feel like generally Sonic games that come out are pretty bad, yet Sonic has been able to maintain its popularity. Even because Sonic is a kid thing for my generation, yet it is still a kid thing in these modern generations. And I really just think that has to do with Sega kind of being free with how people utilize Sonic, especially all the memes we've seen in the past decade on Twitter where Sonic has really embraced memes. Sega does a good job with Sonic. They really do. And I think the movies are inoffensive, but I also think it's offensive because, like, we have Sonic just living in a human house with humans around, and it's like, I want to see Sonic in like those crazy, like the end of Sonic 2, when the Sonic 2 movie, when they were in all the environments that looked like the levels and everything. All right, let's then jump into news, and let's see if there's any more news other than Hellblade 2 reviews. Oh, and real quick from Metronomus, yep, there's a whole yearly event where a bunch of Sonic fan games are shown off release. The Sonic 06 remake should be done. If not, it's definitely nearing it. Oh, that's very cool. So, yeah, there's a whole celebration for that. And that is, I think, important for, like, would you say in the West, Sonic is more popular than Gundam? And I would probably say, yeah, and even both of those come out with bad games regularly, yet mostly Gundam games are good. But then what's this disconnect? And it really is how you interface with the fans, So Microsoft shows how its Copilot AI will be able to give game advice to players in real time. So in my full-time job, I work a lot with Copilot, and I've been like researching a lot recently, testing it out, and it is very neat. And this Copilot AI it's more of an assistant that works. It's like Cortana. It works inside like Outlook and Word. It is different though, in that it's the same and it's different, because really it's just another kind of search or automation tool, but it's with the new way that AI is being deployed, where you have these language models that you can base then your work on. So it's very specified to what you're doing. And so to add that to Xbox, So some things can make sense. There's so many ways you can go about this, actually. And just thinking, like, even just interacting with the game. What if there's some sort of thing where you can ask a question, like adventure games? You know, that would be interesting if it started getting that way. But also they showed off where it's, I wonder if they have, no. Someone's playing a game like, how do I do this? How do I do that? And it will respond in real time to kind of help you along the way, which I think is pretty neat, because there are times where I am searching for a YouTube video to figure out how to do something. But sometimes I don't want to know exactly fully how to do something. I kind of want a little hint. So I wonder if with this Copilot, I could be like, hey, I've been stuck in this area for 2 hours. Where should I go next? And it would be cool if the Copilot said, remember that new item you got that does this? Review that again. And then, you know, I think that'd be a good way to go about it. Or maybe there's degrees, like a slider, where you could be like, yes, help me win. And then if you ask Copilot, where do I go? Maybe it overlays some sort of path. I don't know. All right. What's this? Getting developers started with Game Maker. It's been almost 25 years since Dutch professor Mark Overmars created Game Maker, the game engine primarily devoted to 2D graphics and sprites, while major engines like Unity... I'm trying to figure out where this goes before I read it too much. I don't know. Could be a cool thing. I'm really trying to look for interesting news items. Like, here's like Grant. And it's something interesting, and I read this in another article, and I don't know if I saved it, but it's almost like there's this weird situation going on where, like, yeah, the bigger companies, when it comes to gaming, that's just going kaput. But the smaller ones that, and this is for indies, it's like the smaller ones do well. So it's like it almost makes sense to give grants to indie game developers because there's less, what it seems like, risk involved. It really does seem like there's less risk involved, partly because of how much cheaper it is to make an indie game, but also how much personal involvement developers have with indie games, where it's like their life and how they, not saying that's not the case for AAA games, but you have a very small group of people where it's sometimes just one, where they're really depending on this doing everything they need to do. Anyway, I think there's a lot of things that make sense, and this is great for the game industry as we're seeing these smaller or indie games kind of get the backing they need to shine. It's just, I don't want, you know, Microsoft, Sony swooping in, grabbing them. They've done enough. Little Kitty Big City reaches 1 million players. Okay, on Game Pass alone. Okay, I need to play this because I haven't played it, but I heard David Jaffe talking about it last night, and he said that this is so much fun because you're just a cat just wandering around, knocking things over. I really want to check it out. Report, almost half of players use games as a form of self-expression. Huh. A new report has found that 46% of gamers play video games for the ability to create, use their imagination, and as a form of self-expression. So that's a big deal here. You know, the other interesting thing, if you think about like the video game market and all that, and it's like that market is always grown. It's not like there's less money to be made. What happens is you then get these larger corporations that decide to get into video games because then they can market to a spot to where then the game makes a lot, and then that's the expectation going forward. And I think that's kind of skewed what we expect from the video game industry. And why I'm getting to this is the other thing is when I was younger, when there was less video games, if you weren't playing video games, you were playing with like Legos, constructs, making stuff. And so I think when we're talking about the market share right now of the video game players, I think there's a difference there. There are people that want to play video games because of the challenge of overcoming something, being in a world. And then there's people that just want to make something. And I think survival games are that. As much as someone wants to play a game, the survival is that making stuff. And I feel like if the larger publishers kind of focused or understood that aspect when they were deciding how to put money into marketing into a game or how much to spend on certain engines or aspects of a game, it's like, okay, well, this is really going to hit, the people that like to create like for instance, like The Last of Us, how they're like, okay, this is cinema, this is movies. I even see there's a market for that too, where people want to play a game just to sit there and watch it as a movie. Although I think that's a lot smaller than the creator aspect. I feel like if these bigger companies kind of understood that kind of compartmentalization of the market within video games, it would make a lot of sense. So this article is cool that it came up because it allowed me to sort of understand that's really where the game industry is in the bigger public. That's why that Irish grant goes to indies, because the indie game maker isn't making a game and thinking, okay, this is going to be marketed to everybody, no matter what the mechanics are. No, when an indie game developer is making a game, they have an idea and they want to make it, not really thinking of what kind of market share they're going to get. And that's why, I was earlier saying, Gundam needs to be in the creator space of video games, Roblox, Fortnite. I love that it's a Call of Duty because as a Gundam fan, I am also a video game fan, so that crossover works. But there's a bigger audience out there. And because Bandai Namco is so big, I would think they would understand that. All right. Moving on. The Kingdom Hearts series is coming to Steam next month. Interesting. Square Enix is putting their money where their mouth is. Is that because they did talk about how they can't have things multi-platform anymore. In fact, right after they can't have things exclusive to a platform anymore. They have to be multi-platform. As soon as that happened, Nintendo stock went up. Okay? And Nintendo even just recently acquired a developer that does ports, okay? So again, we're getting all this stuff that's really saying, the next Nintendo console is going to be as current gen as possible to be able to play all these. I mean, Nintendo is going to get even bigger, I think. Even bigger. They have their prestige titles. That is what makes, in terms of Nintendo, what makes Nintendo, like, the Marios and all that. But to have Grand Theft Auto 6, whatever the next one is, to have Kingdom Hearts, what if Switch 2's announced and it's going to have the Final Fantasy Rebirth stuff on it? I mean, it's going to be big. Oh yeah, here's what I was talking about. Nintendo acquires Switch port specialist Shiver Entertainment from Embracer. And they ported Hogwarts Legacy, which is a big game, so the fact that they ported that, it's pretty amazing. And Mortal Kombat 1. That's pretty neat stuff. Pretty neat stuff. Okay, so June 13th for the Kingdom Hearts, if you guys are interested in that. Xbox has greenlit the next game from Ninja Theory. And this was even before I at least I think I was out at 8:10 p.m. I had just got home but was recording a video. That's why I didn't play video games. I was really busy yesterday. I mean, I don't know if the reviews went out before, but I wonder, it's very interesting if I think it's great news that they greenlit the next game from Ninja Theory. It is. I mean, there was, during all that noise about, Xbox is failing, they're like, as soon as Ninja Theory releases their game, they're going to close them down. But no, it must be that good. We looked at the reviews and it seemed like people liked it. So yeah, that's great. There was another report that Xbox is planning more cuts and is offering voluntary severance agreements to producers, quality assurance testers, and other staff at ZeniMax. Okay. At least they have a plan in place for that. Yeah, Nintendo So, okay, a lot of the same stuff is being repeated, so I think that is it for the news. But, so that was very interesting. Hellblade 2 sounds better than I thought in terms of the reaction. A lot of high scored reviews. A lot of times, though, I feel like games kind of get scored higher than they should a lot. But also, there were a few lows. There weren't a lot, but I think the main thing was people were wanting more of a gamier game. But for what Microsoft is trying to do with Hellblade 2, it looks like they nailed it. Short game, easy to play, looks incredible. They said it's the best looking game. I still think Demon's Souls on PS5 is the best looking game. We'll have to see with even on compared to PC games like Demon's Souls on PS5. It's shocking how it looks, and part of it is the art direction, frame rate. But you know, it'll be interesting. I need to play Hellblade 2 to see how it looks. I'd love to talk about it tomorrow, actually. In fact, tomorrow, we're going to have a guest. Ultronimus, he's in the chat. He's going to join us for tomorrow's show. That'll be fun. Yeah, we'll talk news, what he's been playing, all that. Yeah, so yeah, that's about it. Everyone, thanks for joining. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, we'll talk again tomorrow, and it will be neat to see what unfolds in the next week or two with Hellblade 2, how people are taking it, what that means for Xbox and all that. So anyway, until next time, you all be cool.